Evening, everyone, and welcome to the 4th Essex District Democratic Candidates Night presented by the Democratic Town Committees of Wenham, Topsfield, Rowley, Manchester by the Sea, Hamilton, and Ipswich. My name is Amber Hewett, and my pronouns are she, her. I am a Democrat from Newburyport, and last year I was the Democratic nominee for state representative in the 1st Essex District of Amesbury, Newburyport, and Salisbury. The goal of our time together tonight is to introduce voters in the 4th Essex District to the 2 Democratic candidates running in the special election to be your state representative. The primary election takes place this coming Tuesday, November 2nd, and you may vote in this Democratic primary if you're either a registered Democrat or registered unenrolled. Since longtime incumbent Brad Hill resigned from this seat in September, this is the first time in a generation that this seat has been vacant. Your district has changed a lot in that time, and today Democrats outnumber Republicans in each of the 6 towns. So now is your time. We hope that whether you're a Democrat or unenrolled, that you'll vote for one of these 2 candidates on Tuesday and for the Democratic candidate in the general election on November 30th. This is a historic opportunity to flip this seat blue. And as an important detail, we'd be adding another woman to the Massachusetts legislature, which is currently only 31% female, with 50 women in the House and 12 in the Senate. And in fact, in the history of the Massachusetts legislature, voters have elected over 20,000 men and just 220 women. So let's take a step toward changing that. The format for tonight is that each candidate will introduce herself to voters and answer questions chosen by the organizers of this event. And then we'll have time to make a final statement. We'll plan to end this evening's forum by 8 o'clock, and a recording will be available after the event. This is not a debate. It's an opportunity to get to know the candidates and how they'd like to represent you. Both have agreed to keep their remarks positive, and regardless of who wins the primary, both have committed to join Democrats from the area and from our state party for a unity rally on Saturday, November 6th from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock at the Ipswich Riverwalk. Mark your calendars. We hope that you all will be there too. All right, each candidate has a set time in which to answer each question, and she'll be muted by our tech team if she runs over. So we'll stick to tight timeframes to this evening. All right, so let's get started. I'm delighted to introduce to you our 2 candidates. Going first with an introductory statement will be Jamie Belsito of Topsfield. Her website is electjamiebelsito.com, and she will be followed by our second candidate, Darcy Dale of Hamilton, whose website is darcydale.com. Jamie, you have 5 minutes to introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Amber. Great to be here. I'd like to thank the chairs of the 4th Essex District for putting tonight together. Again, to our moderator, Amber Hewett, and to fellow candidate Darcyll Dale for jumping into this race. My name is Jamie Zalloway Belsito, and I am running to be your next state representative. I'm a resident of Shenamawidi, or present-day Topsfield. I'm the great-granddaughter of Syrian refugees and the granddaughter of a World War II veteran, 4th Marine Division, survivor of Iwo Jima. I was raised in a hardworking union household, and I am a product for the Massachusetts public school system and a first-generation college graduate from my alma mater, Salem State College, now university, where I am also a trustee. I am a former commissioner with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, to the Ellen Story Postpartum Commission, the founder and policy director of the Maternal Mental Health Leadership Alliance. I am a wife. I am a mother of 2 elementary school aged girls, and both of whom attend our Topsfield public school system. I am running in this election to be the voice of the 4th Essex on Beacon Hill, which is currently not represented in the Massachusetts State House. I have been out in the towns listening to the voices of the people who need representation and support. I am running to be the voice of the working class family, of our Main Street businesses, the LGBTQI community, the disabled, senior citizens, our veterans, educators, our resilient students, people of color, and immigrants who have found their home here in this district. All of our community members deserve a strong leader and a strong voice in the halls of our State House. We continue to live in the middle of a pandemic and face its uncertainty. Our communities continue facing lack of access to healthcare when we need it most. Friends and family are losing jobs and not receiving timely benefits. Lack of affordable housing and mental health support are everyday obstacles. Our schools are still facing challenges in a time of COVID. We need a seasoned professional to hit the ground running in the State House to address these challenges for our district and take care of our friends and family. Our community needs help, and I know how to advocate for services to help them. I have a proven track record of winning on the issues I've advocated for and obtaining full funding for programs like mental health and maternal wellness. I am bringing 20 years of legislative and policy expertise to this race and have successfully shepherded state-level budget items and policies signed into law for the benefit of the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. As a seasoned policy professional, I've been at the center of comprehensive immigration reform, mental health and substance reform, and millions of dollars of investment in maternal and child health care. Based on my own lived experience, I've changed how this country and this Commonwealth take care of our pregnant and new mothers. In partnership with the Ipswich Birth to Three, North Shore Postpartum Help, and State Senators Lovely, Tarr, and Representative Hill, I created the first ever State House Advocacy Day dedicated to the mental health of new families. This past June, we celebrated our 6-year anniversary at the State House. As a trustee, I've worked directly with Congress and the State House on supporting and funding public higher education. And I actively advocated for the Student Opportunity Act, of which increased K-12 public school funding in the Commonwealth. If elected to be the next state representative of this 4th Essex District, I will put my qualified experience, my passion and love for where I live to work on day one for everyone in this district. I will work with our communities, representing our needs on Beacon Hill, and I will make sure every town will be represented and part of our priorities. I ask for your support. I ask for your vote on Tuesday, November 2nd, and I thank you for the opportunity to address the crowd tonight.
Excellent. Thank you, Jamie. Darcy, your turn. You have 5 minutes to introduce yourself.
Thank you. And I too want to thank everybody who's doing the hard work of democracy and putting all the effort into these really important episodes of choosing our next leaders. And so thank you to everybody who's involved in this effort. My name is Darcyll Dale, but you can call me Darcy. I'm running for this 4th Essex office because I see this time as an inflection point, not only for Massachusetts, but it's also an inflection point for our country. These are perilous times, but oftentimes we'll find great opportunity and innovation that occurs during these times of really upheaval. I want to see Massachusetts move forward into the future with confidence and foresight. My accomplishments are tangible, and they are many. You can see a partial but detailed list of my municipal accomplishments at darcydale.com. And I've been privileged to work with the town of Hamilton for the last 6 years, the last 3 of which I have been an executive on the select board for the town of Hamilton. I've worked diligently and collaboratively with my colleagues on the select board. And we have navigated the COVID pandemic. One of the most important functions of a municipal official or an executive is to make sure that the citizens of your town are safe, secure, and healthy. And we were able to do that. And it has been a challenge, but with help from the good people who work for the town, we were able to keep our COVID numbers down and minimize the risk to the essential workers who work in Hamilton. We came through with flying colors so far, but we are not done with this pandemic yet, or rather the pandemic is not done with us yet. As the new state representative for the 4th Essex District, I want to bring more revenue, more opportunities, more resources, and other funding mechanisms such as grants and initiatives to the 4th Essex District, while continuing the tradition of excellent and robust constituent services that Brad was so well known for. I believe that our environmental sustainability and climate mitigation and resiliency will be the most critical issue for this generation and for the next generation. We can't wait any longer to begin to turn back the tide of the climate disruption. Literally, turning back the tide. Towns of the 4th Essex District have already taken steps to deal with some of the changes that we see almost every day. But it is not enough. We need leadership at the state level to bring into focus the danger that we face and how we can act to minimize disruption due to storms, flooding, water damage, wind damage, and all the various conditions that we face from climate change. And time is of the essence. I have one more thing I want you to think about. I am the only one in this race that can make this commitment to you. I have a core commitment that if I win this race, and I win both November 2nd and November 30th, you can count on me to run in 2022 to represent the 3 remaining towns that will go into the Essex 2nd District. And no one else in the Democratic primary race will be able to say that. I aim to work for the 2022 seat of the 2nd Essex District as your Democratic nominee. I would make my year of legislative experience, along with my 6 years of municipal experience, to create a regional framework of cooperation and collaboration so that when the towns do leave the 4th Essex, they will have an experienced liaison, a seasoned liaison, who can assist in getting the towns up to speed with their new districts. And I'm going to make that core commitment to the voters. And I would ask that you make that investment in your democracy. Your vote is an investment in your future, and I am committed to make that investment with you. My slogan is love where you live, because if you love where you live, you will protect it, you will love it, and you will work to keep it. So it's called stewardship, and I hope that everyone votes on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thanks, Darcy. All right, with that, we'll move on to our first question, and you'll each have 4 minutes to answer this question. We're going to be starting with Jamie. Jamie, at the September Mass Dems virtual convention, delegates approved a new party platform that will define our party's values for the next 4 years. What is one part of that new platform that's compelling to you and that you'd want to champion for the 4th Essex as state rep? Oh, you're muted. There you go.
You know, you'd think after a year and a half, I'd be on top of this. Thank you. I was honored to be a delegate at this year's convention on behalf of the Topsfield Democratic Town Committee. And the newly approved platform is a direct reflection of the pressing issues our state and nation must address immediately. I myself submitted an amendment relative to racial disparities, access and support services to pregnant and postpartum families, and it is with great pride that parts of my submitted language were incorporated into the reproductive health, freedom, and justice plank. And the language is as follows: to an end to racial disparities in reproductive health and pregnancy care, so that Black birthing people no longer die at twice the rate of white birthing people, by ensuring patients have access to doulas, midwives, and/or obstetricians, as well as the treatment of postpartum depression and anxiety. You know, I am a subject matter expert in maternal, mental, reproductive health, and these are issues that are intersectional with racial justice, equity, economic justice, and education. All of these matter in the communities of our 4th Essex, but the most resounding urgent issue facing this district is climate and environmental change. That platform spoke to the heart of many challenges our district is facing. Access to clean air, water, and land, drought are human rights, and we must make prompt and aggressive action to curb the worst effects of climate change, and investment in protecting and preserving natural spaces. I pulled those bullet points out of the platform. We are facing rising sea levels, droughts, compromised water sources in every one of our 6 communities. Our district is privileged to have access to an incredible amount of open space and have regional partners with the trustees of the reservation, Audubon, and the Greenway. We need to address infrastructure for our waterways here, our bridges, our marshes. We need dedicated monies to address these challenges within our riverways and our coastlines. We need to have someone in the State House who's serious about addressing climate and environmental concerns that have been negatively affecting this district for decades. Between 96 and 2016, Essex County has experienced 41 flooding events with an average of 2.6 annual floods. I was remembering the restaurant behind the Choke Bridge pub in Ipswich when my mother lived down on County Street. I think it was back in 96. And that place was flooded twice 2 decades ago. These are issues that our communities have been dealing with for decades. Our district needs a seat at the table when it comes to climate and environmental policy negotiations at the State House. The climate and environment discussions are ongoing right now, and they're essential to life-saving and community-saving measures here in the 4th Essex. We must have the right representative who knows how to navigate the system and walk away with positive results for the district. And I believe I'm the right person. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Darcy, I'll repeat the same question for you, and then you'll have 4 minutes to answer. So at our September Mass Dems virtual convention, delegates approved a new party platform that will define our party's values for the next 4 years. What is one part of that new platform that is compelling to you and that you'd want to champion for the 4th Essex as state rep?
Thank you for that question. I am familiar with the 2021 Democratic platform. I've been the secretary to the Hamilton Democratic Town Committee for years, and this is what's called a platform building year, and it ties in with our Democratic Blueprint 2022. This will engage the grassroots in organizing for successful elections for Democrats throughout Massachusetts. I can prioritize what I think are the top 2 compelling parts in this platform that I want to champion for the 4th Essex District, as well as for the 2nd Essex District in 2022. I would say that voting rights are the key to all the other rights that we support. Without voting rights, we have no power to change anything. Voting rights are fundamental to our democracy. We would have no democracy without our voting rights. And everything that we care about flows from those voting rights: human rights, reproductive rights, civil rights, socioeconomic and climate justice, mitigation policies, environmental sustainability policies to protect our ecosystems, developing new energy systems, and the need for rapid transition away from our legacy fossil fuels and that industry, and really so much more. Voting rights are the bedrock of American democracy, and we must work to keep it healthy and vibrant. And I would say, in addition to voting rights, the second compelling platform, or plank in the platform rather, would be our ability to plan for a clean and sustainable future. The state has put up benchmarks to guide us in the ultimate goal of a zero carbon footprint, but those plans are not firm, and there are gaps in the planning. And actually gaps in the execution as well. I would work with colleagues to ensure compliance with those benchmarks, but we will need to initiate those first steps as quickly as possible in order to meet those metrics. And we will also need to be nimble and flexible in our approach to meet the moment. And I think actually, I would say those are the 2 planks that I'm interested in. And I would work with my colleagues to make sure that we were all together on the same page and that we could continue working together even after 2022. I'm done.
Thank you. Thanks, Darcy. So we'll be, for our second question, Darcy, you will be going first. And again, you'll have 4 minutes. For our second question, during this short campaign, as you've met residents of the district of all political stripes, what have you learned about their constituent needs?
I have learned overwhelmingly that the vast majority of the people of every age group who engaged in conversation with me, they were quick to ask about what can be done to save the environment for their children and their grandchildren. And this was almost every single person I came in contact with. There is a fear that we're not doing enough, we're not doing it faster, and that we're wasting precious time. So we have to focus on climate resiliency and mitigation in order to protect what we have. Under this climate umbrella, I would say that the same people were very concerned about the Ipswich River, as it is in the top 10 of the country's most endangered riverways. And the fact that we have the polyfluoroalkyls, the PFAS, they're a toxic forever chemical, and we're finding it not only in our water, but in our soils. This is an indication of how perilous the situation has become, and solving this problem will require remediation and constant monitoring. I aim to work with local officials and my colleagues in the House to prevent more toxins from entering our water supply and soils. And I'm eager to learn more about what our options are and how quickly they can be implemented. And there was some other concerns that came up more than some others, and that would be property tax rates and the fear of overrides, the Proposition 2.5 overrides. The reliance on property taxes for the bulk of our public school revenue is simply not sustainable. Our schools and our students deserve better. We should have a level playing field. It would go a long way toward discrepancies, fixing those discrepancies between the districts. So we have to be creative in our search for more revenues to take the burden off the real estate taxpayer, to put it more generally on the state and the Fed. And I also want to point out that once you have a 2.5 proposition override, it stays permanently on your tax assessment. It's not like when you bond or when you borrow. When you're bonding every year, the tax assessment goes down until it eventually goes away. And the same with borrowing. It's a completely different concept. Those things don't stay on the tax rolls, but on the tax assessment, but Proposition 2.5 is forever. And the limit is $25 per thousand evaluation. So you would have, the only option that you would have would be to cut, and you would have to find revenue through cutting, which is, it is very poor management. It's a very poor practice. I would never ever advise anybody to go that route. So towns, especially smaller towns, have to be very, very careful how they do their budgets and how they decide they're going to stay with either level funding or level services. And it's a real conundrum. Thank you.
Thanks, Darcy. Over to you, Jamie, with the same question. I'll repeat the question and then you'll have 4 minutes to answer. During this short campaign, as you've met with residents of the district, what have you learned about their constituent needs?
Thank you for the question. Each community is unique, but what I found resounding to answer the constituents' needs, what was I hearing was, will you take care of us? This was whatever the issue was. Will you take care of us when it came to a number of issues? Constituents are worried about accessing unemployment benefits. They're concerned about their aging schools. They're concerned about rising sea levels and the need for housing affordability. There are business owners who can't find enough workforce to serve the needs of their own community. And these are ongoing worries that I am here to listen to and to help with. My job as state representative as well will be to address constituent concerns, of course, and also make connections between what the municipalities are in need of and what the state can deliver, like grant opportunities to bolster technical assistance on proposed upgrades, like the public safety building that we just saw get voted on in Ipswich, advocating for technology upgrade grants for our public schools, so that we don't need to pursue an override just to address our aging technology needs. We need to educate, or I would need to help educate our municipal zoning boards in regards to housing and let them know that there are housing development grants, studies, and smart growth opportunities, grants out there to address the affordable housing affordability as well. I will also be responsible to partner with their congressional delegation, of which I already am doing, voicing our district's needs to get appropriate federal funding back to our communities. Because of my experience in both the federal and the state legislature, I know how to navigate different funding pools and advocate for specific line items that will help the district. We're still in recovery from COVID. I want constituents to know that they don't have to worry about receiving their unemployment benefits if faced with temporary joblessness. I want them to know my office will work with and support the long-term partnerships our communities have with Acorn and Open Door as it relates to food insecurities. I want our senior citizens to know they will not spend another winter in isolation, that they will have our public health experts supporting getting their COVID boosters, have access to transportation and community events offered by our councils of aging. I want our youth to know that they will have an advocate in the State House to champion a bright future for them. Residents of this district are of all political stripes, and interestingly enough, mainly unenrolled. And everyone has needs. As the next state representative, it would be my privilege to help every constituent of this district. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. And I should have noted this at the beginning for our audience, but when you do hear a bell, audience, that is marking that there are 30 seconds left of the response. So our candidates are not going over. If they continue to talk past the bell, they still have 30 seconds to go. Okay, for our third question, Jamie, you'll be going first. Again, you'll have 4 minutes, and then Darcy will follow with a 4-minute reply to the same question. Jamie, what proposed piece or pieces of legislation before the House already in this session do you think could directly address issues that you just named as important to constituents, and how would you fight to get that legislation passed?
Amber, this is my most exciting question of the night, and I thank you for the opportunity to address it. I'd like to reclaim my time that I just left back there on the floor, because the biggest piece of legislation right now is an act relative to immediate COVID-19 recovery needs. It dropped on the 25th, I believe. It was filed on the 25th, and this is the bill that's responsible for a whopping $3.6 billion statewide one-time spending bill of ARPA funds, otherwise known as the American Rescue Plan Act. The district needs a strong legislator to effectively represent the needs of our community as it relates to this significant piece of legislation. This is a one-time funding opportunity across the Commonwealth. Within each municipality, constituents have been asked how they want these funds to be spent. There have been numerous virtual hearings online within the Massachusetts legislature soliciting feedback from the public on how to utilize this one-time funding source. $100 million under the House proposal has been allocated to address equitable school facilities and repairs for improved ventilation and indoor air quality. As a parent of 2 elementary school-age children who have seen the inside of their classroom this year as they're back in school, a box fan and a HEPA ventilator are okay for now, but our schools are in disrepair, and we have schools in this district that could benefit from this one-time windfall as it relates to the installation and repairs, upgrades for heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and other school air quality improvements. I am very upset that we don't have anyone having a seat at the table at this time. Going back to the environment and climate and the issues around our watersheds, dams, wetlands, etc., $100 million has been put forth for these initiatives for the entire Commonwealth. This is where we need a champion to connect our needs of the district to the ARPA funds exclusive from the next fiscal year budget. There are legislative efforts right now addressing drought management, which we are completely affected by continually every year. The implementation of a revolving fund to supplement the funding of waterway projects and coastal protection initiatives, strengthening notifications in Wetlands Protection Act, and a community preservation fund for coastal infrastructure. Those are pieces of legislature pending right now in the House. There's intersectionality with these one-time funding and long-term as well. These efforts are directly in line with the priorities of our district. I'd like to intersect these ARPA fundings with the local initiatives that we have within the municipalities for the one-time funding, as well as work with the committee members of the Joint Committee of Environment, natural resource, and agriculture, supporting their work and help them get full passage and funding for these essential policy outcomes. Again, the time is now. The money's coming down the pike. We don't have anyone there. I know how these conversations go. I know how to work with fellow legislators, and I'm looking forward to getting in there, making sure that our district gets the money they deserve. Ding. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. The same question to you, Darcy. I'll repeat the question and then you will have 4 minutes to answer. What proposed piece or pieces of legislation already before the House in this session do you think could directly address the issues you've cited tonight? And how would you fight to get that legislation passed?
Thank you. Yes, this is a rather easy question. ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act. It's a huge deal. It's one of the biggest Biden initiatives that has passed, and that our Massachusetts legislature has the opportunity to disperse $3.65 billion to the 351 cities and towns in this Commonwealth. There are over 1,100 amendments in the House. They finalized those amendments yesterday, and now they have, I believe, almost a week to go through them and decide which ones they want to incorporate into the legislation. There are 160 Massachusetts House members, and they all have more than one opinion, apparently. So today, the Massachusetts House held a full formal session. It's on how they would invest that $3.65 billion portion of the ARPA funds. Some of the money from that $3.65 billion is also excess funds from last year. Nevertheless, the House legislation has already earmarked $600 million for housing, $250 million for stressed hospitals, $300 million for workforce education and training. And then there's another $500 million for the unemployment trust to help business owners, particularly small business owners, with their taxes that they have to pay for unemployment, because the COVID unemployment payments really made it very difficult for small businesses. So this would be one way to subsidize the extraneous unemployment taxes that they're going to have to pay in order to replenish that trust fund for unemployment benefits. We're actually in the middle of discussing this at Town Hall in Hamilton. We've also asked our department heads to kind of give us some ideas on the best way that they think that we could use it in the municipal sphere. And I look forward to taking a look at what they have to say. As a member of the select board, I'm eager to find out how much and where it's going to go. But this has been a real opportunity for the Massachusetts citizens. And I look forward to seeing what they come up with in the legislature. Thank you.
Thanks, Darcy. All right, so before we get to our closing statements, we're going to take time for a quick fun question. We're going to start with you, Darcy. You'll have 1 minute to respond. What is your favorite place to go for a walk in the district?
I don't want to tell anybody because then they're all going to go there. No, it's Appleton Farms. It straddles Ipswich and Hamilton, and I just love it. And the grass rides too, that's adjacent to it. So those are really great places to take kids. They have cows and pastures and very wide walking paths. There's plenty of room for social distancing. I just love it. It's heavenly. It really is. So that would be my choice.
Awesome. Joining you from Newburyport, I'm a bit of an outsider, so I was excited to get recommendations of nearby walks. And I just went for my first walk in Appleton a couple months ago with a friend from Ipswich, and it was lovely. All right, same question to you, Jamie. Favorite place to go for a walk in the district?
You can't ask just the one Please. Oh, that says 4 minutes, but I get a one.
You have 1 minute.
In no ranking order, but hailing from Topsfield, I have the honor to just walk down the street and get in the rail trail and get on my bike. And I'll tell you, being able to see the Topsfield Fairgrounds without people in it is always fun. And getting to take that bike to go down to the Wenham Swamp Walk is like the best, especially when the pepper bushes are in full bloom. So just a little FYI, Pavilion Beach, always, I've been going down there for 30 years and walking up and down the beach there. Appleton Farms, of course, the rolling grasslands, and who can't say Singing Beach? I just go there just to hear the under my feet, but it is such a gem, and we're so privileged to have these facilities in our district.
Excellent list. I wish I was writing those down, but this is recorded.
That's right.
Great recommendations. All right. Well, we've come to our closing statements for the evening. You each will have 4 minutes. And going in reverse order from the beginning, Darcy, you'll be going first. You have 4 minutes. Why voters give you their vote on Tuesday?
Oops, I have to get my act together here. Let's see, I'm unmuted, right? Okay,
Good.
thank you. I'm just going to recap some of the initiatives that I would like to be involved in with my colleagues on Beacon Hill. Again, water planning, infrastructure, and conservation. We're going to have to do a lot of planning. We're going to have to probably do a lot of different ways of thinking and different ways of doing business, different ways of educating. We're in a whole new normal, if you will, and it's going to require a wholesale change. It's not going to happen all at once, but it will happen. And we're going to have to rethink even just working, transportation, energy systems. And then I also want to talk a little bit more about the education funding. People don't realize how close some of these smaller towns are to reaching that $25 cap on the Proposition 2.5, $25 per thousand of assessment. And my fear is that we have some of these little towns that are bumping right up against it. So time is of the essence, and we have to really start thinking about that. Energy systems. I can't wait until President Biden's infrastructure and the other spending bill passes, and I know it will, because we're going to see a real change in how we heat homes, how we transport ourselves, where our electricity comes from. I've also put my money where my mouth is, and I have 30 solar panels on my roof since 2015, and I can attest to you that it is a game changer. It's a life changer. I have no electric bill. I haven't had an electric bill for years, and yet I'm finding more and more ways to use my electricity to cut my fossil fuel consumption. And I'm hoping that people will really, when these monies are available, that we can do the retrofitting as rapidly as possible, and that people will see a change in how they live. It's really, it is life-changing. Entrepreneurial initiatives. This is something that I've worked very hard on the board to make sure that we are working collaboratively in a regional framework with towns that are within and without the 4th Essex District. And I would like to continue to see that kind of cooperation and regional working together, because I think it is advantageous for the towns, and it's a creative way of adding value and giving extra value to the taxpayers, which is something I know that they would appreciate. Working together to make progress. I am committed to working with my colleagues on Beacon Hill. I would expect that it's going to be a lot of fun. I always like to think of this is an adventure, but it's also deadly serious. We have a lot of work to do. And I want to make sure that people understand that I am making a commitment to them that if I get in and I represent the 4th Essex District, I am making that commitment to continue to represent those 3 towns that will be joining the 2nd Essex District. And I have every intention of running in 2022 for the Essex 2nd District. So make an investment in your democracy. That's what I'm planning to do too. Thank you.
Thanks, Darcy. Right on time. Jamie, over to you. You have 4 minutes. Why should voters vote for you on Tuesday?
Amber, thanks a bunch. Again, I'd like to thank everyone here tonight for putting such a phenomenal event together as we continue to live through COVID times. Everyone here tonight's had an opportunity to listen to me during this event. I know this district. I love this district. I live in this district, and it's made up of 6 shining jewels, and it's a district that deserves top shelf leadership. My entire campaign is centered on the people and the issues that we are facing every day. I believe I've demonstrated in this short period of time tonight that I am the most qualified candidate in this race and that I am ready to do the job from day one. My years of hands-on legislative and budgetary experience, combined with an open seat, offer unique opportunity for the 4th Essex District to send an experienced leader to represent them during this special election. My vision for the people of our district focuses on clean and sustainable water sources, environmental and climate justice, housing affordability, socioeconomic equality, and accessible mental health and substance use supports. It includes access to safe and quality public education, community-based healthcare, and the ability to retire with confidence. These are areas that demand attention for our district. We have a short amount of time in this legislative session to address these goals, and I intend on being a strong voice for what the 4th Essex deserves from Beacon Hill. Aside from being a candidate for this office, I'm a constituent and I'm a community member. I want fair and equal representation for my town of Topsfield and for this district, for the issues that matter to my family and friends. And if I can use my seasoned capabilities to represent our needs at the State House, I promise to make sure that I am representing the people and the families, everyone of Hamilton, Ipswich, Manchester, Rowley, Topsfield, and Wenham. I understand what it takes to be a legislator. This is when preparation meets opportunity, and I am ready to serve to be your next state representative. I humbly ask for your support. I ask for your vote on November 2nd, and I thank you for a phenomenal evening. Thank you so much, Amber, and thank you to the DTC chairs.
Thanks so much, Jamie. And thank you both for running for office and for sharing your thoughts with us tonight. For those who would like to learn more, please visit the candidates' websites. I'll repeat them: darcydale.com and electjamiebelsito.com. Thank you to everyone in our live and recorded audience for tuning in. We really appreciate your participation. And I particularly appreciate being welcomed into this conversation at such a critical moment in your community. So thank you for having me. Democrats and unenrolled voters in Wenham, Topsfield, Rowley, Manchester by the Sea, Hamilton, and Ipswich, please vote in the Democratic primary this coming Tuesday, November 2nd. If you have a vote by mail ballot, at this point, we recommend dropping it off in person at your town hall, and you can do that as late as Election Day. Please join both of these candidates and others at the Unity Rally organized by the 4th Essex Democratic Town Committees. It will take place on Saturday, November 6th from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock at the downtown Ipswich Riverwalk across from the Visitor Center. Now let's all get out the vote. Let's turn this district blue. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night.